and welcome back to the channel We Don't Know Why for the first official episode of Trey's Car Talks. I'm super excited to be here with you guys today, and for the first episode I figured we might as well go strong, and we're going to talk about a very touchy subject, the Freedom Convoy in Canada. So that's going to be the topic of today's video. But before that, I just want to say, again, the first episode of Trey's Car Talks, I'm super excited. I have received some feedback from the first episode, and I hope that, or from the first intro episode, and I hope that this episode will be a bit more coherent. I'm going to try not to be as repetitive. So let's just go, let's do this, bear with me. So the Freedom Convoy, something I am very passionate about right now. I've been following it for the several weeks that it's been going on now, and I just needed to talk about some of the things that have happened over the last couple days with this protest. But first, I want to start with a quick premise of the Freedom Convoy for those of you who don't know anything about it, which I have found in the last couple days that there are many people that don't know anything about it or choose not to know anything about it. So I want to give a quick premise so we're all on the same page. So the Freedom Convoy is a protest started by Canadian truck drivers against the government's vaccine mandate for truck drivers. They have mandated that you must be vaccinated, and if you're not vaccinated, when crossing the US-Canadian border, you must take a test, quarantine for 14 days, and then be able to pass through the border. Many people in the truck driving community have found this completely outrageous. Being that 80% of Canadian truck drivers are vaccinated at this point, the remaining, percentage is not those are people that are clearly not going to receive this vaccine, and their job shouldn't be threatened because of it. So that's what they're protesting. This protest, though, quickly grew from just truckers to the general population of Canada, realizing that this mandate has gone too far. They've gone too far with this stuff. The government is overreaching big time, so they are going to put an end to it. That was how this is where this is at now. There was several pieces of this protest. The one that's still going on is in Ottawa, on the Parliament area in Ottawa, in the city, and they are still got that pretty well blocked. They've got big rigs downtown there, and they've got tons of people every day. They've still got massive engagement after almost 3 weeks of protest. And the second piece was at the Ambassador Bridge over the last 7 days, and it was recently ended with force when officials of Canada declared that this was no longer going to be going on, and several people were everyone was forcefully removed, several people arrested to clear up that bridge. And the Ambassador Bridge is a bridge that connects the border of the US and Canada from Detroit to Canada. There you go. So that's where the protest is at. That's some of the things that have happened, so we're all on the same page. Now I want to talk about first how important this Freedom Convoy is to things here in the States. You might not draw the immediate conclusion, but it is very important. So these people, as we have had some people here fight against this mandate, the truck drivers there, wanted to just bring an end to this insanity and this tyranny of a government trying to force people to get a vaccination and threatening, of course, their jobs. We've seen some of that here in the United States, in New York, in California, and of course Biden's vaccine mandate that was thankfully shut down by our Supreme Court for businesses. 100 or more must have vaccinated employees, which would include proof of vaccination or testing requirements if they were not vaccinated. It was shut down here in the States, at least on that massive level for businesses, 100 or more employees, but there are still states that are implementing stuff very similar. So what's important about this Freedom Convoy is that it's taking a country like Canada that has been a little more accepting and allows the government to take a larger role than we do here in the United States. And they've said, this is enough. You guys have gone too far. Most of us are vaccinated anyways. Those who want it have gotten it, and those who don't want it are not going to get it. So this needs to stop. You don't get to threaten people's livelihoods. This is extremely important because it's showing where the lines are, and it's showing the government how much power they have and don't have. Very important. It's a massive piece of the puzzle for ensuring that the government knows when its overreach has gone too far and puts them in their place. So that's what's super important about this, is it's kind of signaling, like I said, it's signaling to the governments that they cannot do this to us. We will not accept it. And I have so much respect for the men and women that are in those protests, truckers, citizens, whatever. If they're showing support, I have massive respect to them, putting their government in their place here. But here's what's happened recently that is bringing me to even talk about this in a video, is that yesterday it was put out by the Canadian government that they will be allowing financial institutions such as banks to freeze accounts of people that they believe are associated with the Freedom Convoy. This was massive information. Yesterday, I only saw it in one place that was on the Daily Wire, the Ben Shapiro Show. It was the only place that I saw that covered this massive piece of information. And I wanted to talk about that and how absolutely outrageous I believe this is. And that's the primary point of this video, is that I couldn't believe that a government was going to step in and take away the finances and money of people that have different ideas, or have ideas that the government doesn't like. I couldn't even fathom, especially as an American, that could even happen, that could, how could they do it? That's what I thought. And it pissed me off to another extreme. So I needed to come out and I need to talk about it. I need to make sure people knew, even though my audience is very small, I wanted to make sure those who do watch knew something about this, because I can't imagine that the big media stations here in the US are going to cover it with much light, being that it's kind of counter to their point. So I just wanted to get it out there. So this is happening as of yesterday. If you are believed to be associated or supporting the Freedom Convoy, your accounts can be seized. And in fact, there's incentives for financial institutions from the government to seize those accounts, because if they don't, they could possibly face civil penalties. So they can receive penalties from the government for not seizing accounts of people that are supporting this. And they can do this, of course, without any due process. That's the whole idea. The government is saying, you have the full ability to do this, and in fact, we need you to do this. And if you don't, we will punish you. That's what's happening. Absolutely outrageous. And again, from the States, a lot of us, anyone who's going to be watching this for the most part is going to be from the United States. And it's almost something you couldn't possibly believe could happen that close to a country that's supposedly a free nation. How can a government... Okay, so now, quick change of scenery. I know, mid-statement, but my phone died earlier, and I can't bring myself to scrap the first half of this video, being that it was the most coherent thing that I had filmed in the several attempts of me trying to film this video. So I want to start off from where we ended in the first half of this, with how can a government step in and take the monetary possessions of their citizens and not have, there's like no repercussions to these guys, right? How can they do it? And of course, it's because of the structure of Canada and some of the freedoms that they don't have in Canada versus the US. So there is that. But what is awesome about it is that people are, despite what freedoms are and aren't available in Canada, people are stepping up and saying, this is not okay, with the vaccine mandates and everything like that. And a lot of people I've seen in the later half of the day coming out and saying, we don't care what you take from us, right? These people in these protests, these truckers, they're saying, we don't care what you take from us, Canada. You can seize our accounts. You can take our trucks. You can do whatever you need to do. We're not budging. We're staying here and we're not moving. And of course, this is only going to continue to scare the hell out of the Canadian government, as it should. People putting them in their place, and that's terrific. So Canada, while Canada is going strong at this point, and these protesters are not deterred, despite the fact that they are facing just being completely demolished in every way, losing their livelihoods, losing access to their money, they are not deterred. But what's important is to think about how we are going to deal with it here in the United States of America. What can we do, right? How can we further this movement? And how can we stop the things that are happening in Canada from happening here? So, first thing we can do as citizens of the United States is show all the support that we can, even if that's just hanging a Canadian flag next to your American flag on your porch. Whatever it is, whatever you can do to support that movement, because they are going to need all the support they can get. Think about what position you would be in. Could you continue to stand with a cause if it was going to cost you everything? And those people are, but there are some that are going to need extra support. So that's the first and biggest thing that we can do as Americans here to ensure that that momentum in Canada continues, showing every bit of support that we can. And of course, entirely peaceful manners, as they have led the example of over there in Canada, with no major injuries reported from their 3-week protest. Secondly, we need to start looking inward on what is happening here and looking at what's happening over there and comparing the two, and then figuring out how we're going to prevent what happened there from happening here, and how we're going to stop what's happening here from continuing to happen in places such as California and New York. We need to come together as people that are united under the United States Constitution and under these guides of freedoms that we have been allowed to have for 246 years. How are we going to do this? We need to come together, and that is what is second most important to preventing this massive government overreach from happening here in the United States, which unfortunately we've already seen some of, even in a financial way, with several banks over the last few years coming out and removing certain people because of their views from banking with them, right? And how is this okay? So this is what we got to stop. We got to stop it in whatever way we can come up with together to solve this problem. And I'm not going to pretend to have all the answers for this. I am no massive event coordinator or someone that would even have a realm of what to do, have an idea in the realm of what to do about this matter on a mass scale. Of course, that's why I'm doing this video. This is my piece, this is my part, is just to not so much solve this problem, but get people to recognize that there is a problem. That's what I'm trying to do. So yeah, there's gonna be a lot of things that I leave unanswered because I don't have the ability to make those, to come up with those answers. I just don't. But what I hope to do is, by putting this out there and putting it in the hands of everyone, that there are people out there that can do that will begin to come up with solutions for some of these problems that we can all work on together. So that's the goal, of course. I hope that it works. I hope we can make this work, and I hope we can continue this momentum that Canada has carried the torch on all the way. And they are still, like I said, not deterred. That is the most amazing part to me. And it was a little shocking, to be honest, to hear that, just to see the sheer determination that these people have. Most fascinating to me is when you see people from a country where the government does so much more for them because they wanted it that way, that they have the sheer determination that they do to stand up against said government. That's what's most fascinating to me. It really, it's on another, it's like something you would have never imagined. Especially, like growing up, it was always that Canadians were a bit more like submissive, for lack of a better term. Whether or not it was true, that was the idea that I had, that they weren't the type of people to have determination. And seeing this now, I know that's completely wrong, and that these people are so unbelievably strong. And what really made me quite sad, quite upset, was that I was watching a clip from the protest, and one of the truckers said, if we didn't do it, who else was going to do it? Who else is going to do it? And that just struck me down to the core, knowing that I live in a country that we swear fights for freedom all over the world, that we allow ourselves freedom, And we fight for the freedom for everyone else too. We fought many wars on the grounds of the freedoms that we have here. But yet, none of us seem to be truly recognizing on any sort of massive scale the freedom that they're fighting for over there in Canada. And it just hit me like a sack of bricks. Like, that's probably not a saying, but it just hit me with a massive impact, like a truck. There we go. That's a better saying. Hit me like a truck, that the country that has supposedly fought for freedom since our conception isn't fighting for this basic freedom that Canada's asking for, in the right to choose what and what doesn't go into their bodies. So that is what I think is next for us in opening up our eyes. It's time to look up and look at the world and recognize that we cannot stand on the grounds as the freedom fighters of the world if we're not willing to support these most basic freedoms that the people in Canada are fighting for. Right? So we as Americans need to stand up and say, you know what? We're with them, and enough is enough. They deserve these freedoms. We all do. And we're not going to let them get taken away. That's what I've got for you on this episode. And I hope that this reaches some people that maybe didn't know what was going on, or just didn't want to recognize what was going on, and opens up some eyes, so we can stop tyranny from taking hold of the world and removing the last bastions of freedom that this world may ever see. If you think this type of tyranny stops after vaccine mandates, you're wrong. It continues. As tyranny knows no end, they will fight and fight and fight until they are the champions, until they rule over all. So it's time to wake up. This is Trey with We Don't Know Why, signing off. Thank you, and have a wonderful rest of your day.